Haskins at 15, but
Montez Sweat this late.
Montez Sweat fell a little bit for whatever reason.
Sure.
A couple weeks ago, you might have thought he was going to be a top 15 pick, but edge rusher, edge rusher, edge rusher. He's one of the best ones out there.
Position they need.
And what do you give up? You move up from 46 to 26.
Yep.
And that's it, really. Next year's second-round pick. I think that's right, right?
2020 second rounder.
So you still got 2 picks tomorrow in the third round. You're going to get 2 players tomorrow, and you fill a need, again another need, quarterback, edge rusher, and Sweat. I mean, this guy is ready to go in the NFL. Played a couple years at Michigan State, had a year in JUCO, then went to Mississippi State.
His combine numbers, Larry,
ridiculous.
Are absurd.
And you know what? Tip of the hat to the mouth of the South, Fred Smoot. He's been talking about this guy for the last month since the combine. He's been touting him. Redskins got to get him. Way to go, Fred. Right on the money.
I think when we came into tonight, the Redskins needed an edge rusher and they needed a quarterback. They still need wide out. They still need tight end help. They still need a guard. I get all those things. But they got arguably a top 5 talent in Montez Sweat. There's talk of a health issue with Montez Sweat, about a possible heart condition.
They backed off. Then
all of a sudden, that didn't exist.
Yep.
So there are some teams that took him off their board. There were some teams, he dropped down boards, clearly. This was a top 10 pick. To fall to 26, we've seen the Skins do this. When there are injury issues, they're willing to roll the dice. They did it with Kendall Fuller. They did it with Fabian Moreau. This was not a guy you could wait to the third round on. To get him late in the first, Larry, the one thing we haven't talked about either, they got 5 years of this guy. They got a 5th-year option, which is the big value in first-round rookie contracts. I don't want to discredit the Haskins pick because I think the team was patient and did a good job waiting for a quarterback that they need. Montez Sweat at 26. They're obviously clear with the medicals. They think the medicals are fine. Home run pick.
Even the most cynical Redskins hater has to give it up tonight. You got to give it up tonight because you solved 2 problems you had, and you made a move that didn't cost you much. And your first pick didn't cost you anything. You're at 15, all the speculation.
You're able to do the second move because you didn't do anything perhaps dumb at the first move.
I would agree with that. You didn't give anything up, so now you had some collateral you might be able to deal with.
If there was a survey in tomorrow morning's Washington Post, actually, you know what? In Wednesday's Washington Post, the Redskins could come out of the first round with Montez Sweat and Dwayne Haskins, and all they did was give
91%. 91%.
They'd be all over it. Redskins fans, people in the DMV would be all over this. They'd be celebrating on M Street in Georgetown.
I mean, you know what?
Maybe they are celebrating.
We're going to meet these guys this weekend. They're going to come down in. They're going to be here. Both of them will probably be here tomorrow. Who knows when we're going to see these guys? I might just go see Dwayne Haskins tonight. I have a
feeling we'll see Haskins sooner. He's close.
Well, you know what?
I don't know where Montez Sweat is.
Montez Sweat, he's down there in Starkville, Mississippi, probably, unless he's at the draft.
We need to get Smoot on the case.
We got to get Smoot on the case. But Smoot called that one. And who would have thought that Dwayne Haskins, talk about an amazing night for the Redskins here in this first round of the draft. I still think Trevor's right. I still think they got to go offensive line in that third round.
Sure.
You got 2 picks. Maybe that's where you go with that. But defensive rush, quarterback, you're right. What more can we say other than a great night for the Redskins?
And let's add this part. I think there was probably a vocal minority when the Haskins pick came in saying, no, go edge rusher there, and then maybe you can trade back. You still got your edge rusher. And you got a guy that nobody expected to be there that late, except me. If you check the My Teams app, one of my 15 predictions was that Montez Sweat was going to fall way later in the first round than people expected.
Wow. Clairvoyant.
I think if you had to pull the people in the Redskins war room, and I'm talking everybody, Doug Williams, Jay Gruden, Bruce Allen, Dan Snyder, Kyle Smith, all the scouts, all the staff. If some of them wanted a quarterback, some of them wanted an edge rusher, this might be the rare night where everyone's happy.
Everybody's happy. You don't have a second-round pick, but you got a first-round talent for that second-round pick. Cost you next year's second-round pick. Heck, worry about that next year. You can always get that pick back.
All right, I don't know if it was Chase or Wes that wants to print the Get Sweaty T-shirts. What did I hear? Let me hear it right. Let's get sweaty. Larry, are you wearing one of those?
I got a better one in my head, but I won't reveal it here. I'll wait for tomorrow's Redskins Nation.
Ooh,
I got to do it right now.
Juicy!
I might just go get an all-night print job done downstairs here.
You guys are making business deals.
They traded to get Montez Sweat.
Right.
I'm of the opinion that he's going to sit. But obviously Case Keenum or Colt McCoy, whoever gets that job coming out of training camp, it's going to be a lot of pressure on him to win because you got a first-round pick sitting right there who's almost pro-ready. Who knows if he's going to be pro-ready? Maybe there's a possibility, JP, that he would be victorious in camp. It was a three-way race. You don't know. That still could happen. Long way to go before you find that out. But in ideal circumstances, you'd like to see him learn behind a quarterback like Colt McCoy or Case Keenum, get his feet in the ground. But I think the start of the season will dictate what happens.
Training camp in Richmond is going to have more juice than it's had in a couple of years. And you have a legitimate quarterback battle, even if it's not Haskins, Larry.
Come on, no. How are you going to have a quarterback battle, not have a first-round pick, 15th overall, be part of that battle? He's got to be part of the battle.
Certainly, but Case and Colt aren't giving him that job either.
No, three-way battle.
It's going to be wild.
Three-way battle. It's
going to be a lot of fun to be a part of. NBC Sports Washington will be there every day. You'll be there every day. We'll be sweating buckets in the Richmond sun.
2 times a day we'll be there.
I do not. Exactly. Jay Gruden's going to talk here in a few minutes. I guarantee Jay Gruden says this job is not Haskins. He has to go earn it. Don't you think? There's no way there's an expectation that he gets the job just because he's a first-round pick.
No, look, Skins is part of his last name.
Skins and Sweat.
He's got an edge. He's got an edge just because of his last name.
Skins and Sweat. The marketing team over here in Ashburn having a good night, too.
We're doing it right now. Come on. Let's get some T-shirts going.
Right. No, I don't. Especially, dude, I wrote about this earlier in the week. The Colt McCoy injury situation is far from settled. He's now had 3 procedures on his leg since he broke that leg in early December in Philadelphia. I believe, and the sources I talked to all said Colt will be completely fine for Richmond for training camp. But you got OTAs, you got a mandatory minicamp in June. All of that's still to come. I believe the Redskins are going to go with 3 quarterbacks this year.
But wait a minute.
I think they have to.
You said for a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick, they could get Josh Rosen.
Sure.
4-way race.
You still think that trade's coming?
I'm just busting on you. I'm just busting on you.
Let me, because I said this adamantly on air earlier. I do now think the Redskins are out of the Josh Rosen sweepstakes. So we're clear.
I was going before that. It's been a long night, but what a night. I mean, golly, who would have thought? I was shocked with Dwayne Haskins Jr., shocked with Montez Sweat. Never thought he'd be there. Never thought the Redskins would make that move. Didn't cost them much in either place. So great night.
His combine numbers. We're gonna have to dig this up from the Redskins Talk archives. You know, Zebra Technologies, the folks that do the on-field measurements, they do the next-gen stats for the NFL. The speed guys hitting the open field. They had the next-gen stats working at the Senior Bowl. Montez Sweat, as a D lineman, as a big fella,
6'6", 253.
Got up over 19 miles an hour running. That's 19.4. 19.4, says Mitch from the corner. Tyreek Hill, or a really fast receiver, gets up to about 21. So think about that.
Freak athlete.
It's a
freak athlete. And again, you know, SEC football played against the very best in college football.
Sure. It's hard to be upset with what happened tonight.
Ironically, a Bulldog from the same college.
That is interesting.
I think you can't say that right here, right now, because you got to prove it on the field. Preston Smith was inconsistent. Who knows? You know, maybe Preston Smith's better days are ahead of him, but at the end of his contract, it was time for him to go because the Redskins weren't going to pay him $52 million to stay here. Montez Sweat, much more economical.
Sure.
Probably has a bigger upside because of the raw physical ability. Whether he's an upgrade, we got to see.
Well, and the thing with Preston was he had a lot of physical ability. We thought Preston would become something that he didn't. Might not be his fault, and maybe he still becomes that player. But we saw the 8-sack seasons. We never saw a double-digit sack season from Preston.
Big gaps, too.
Big
gaps.
It was 8-4, 8-4, which is kind of remarkably
Ryan
consistent.
Anderson's going to be here next year. Okay, Ryan Anderson's figuring to be the starter. So Montez Sweat, again, maybe not going to be forced into action. Maybe not a 3-down player this year right away. Got Kerrigan, obviously, Mr. Consistency. But Ryan Anderson, you got some players there you can mix and match right now.
Well, and the thing I would point out, Montez Sweat has the speed. He might be able to help you in coverage. And that's something they haven't really had from one of their outside linebackers in a long time.
Correct.
I think that's something to watch. Ryan Anderson, we know can set the edge in run defense. We haven't seen him get to the passer at a way Greg Minuski wants. Maybe this is motivation. Who knows? But I do believe that they can work in concert with one another.
Talk about him. Talk about the addition of Reuben Foster, Landon Collins on a defense that was pretty darn good last year.
And there's still a bunch of picks to come.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's been a good night at Redskins Park. You know, these guys might not go to sleep after tonight.
Right.
They're getting that board re-ready, refixed for. Because you know what? Second round's going to go by. They don't have a single pick.
And they have
that's
two
go by
in
quickly.
the third still. I think you're going to see a wideout, and I wonder if you don't see Mitch Tischler's offensive lineman.
Well, Darrell Green was supposed to make the second-round pick for the Redskins. I guess he's got the night off.
So who's making the third?
A guy named Joe Jacoby.
So does Jake just bump Darrell? Does he not even fly to Nashville?
No, Jake's already down there. I mean, Jake. Well, there's 2 third-round picks, so maybe they do the right thing and they split those 2 third-round picks. Maybe that's going to be it. Oh, of course. Hard question.
That's a good
real
question.
hard question. Man, I don't know. Let's say this. Let's say this. It's just intangible right now as we go into the offseason. Which side of the football will be improved the most? But I'll say this. Montez Sweat has special abilities in terms of an edge rusher. I think you're going to see that immediately next year. For Dwayne Haskins, whether he gets a chance to show it as a starter right away, whether he's groomed a little bit, I think it's a different process for him. Maybe how the team starts out the season or how they do in training camp is going to dictate how quickly he's in the lineup. You will see Montez Sweat in the lineup week 1 regardless. Maybe not as a starter, but he'll be on the field quite a bit week 1.
In the last 2 seasons in the SEC, Montez Sweat has 30 tackles for loss and 22.5 sacks. He's going to be on the field right away.
So I'm saying.
He's going to make an impact. We don't know what will happen with Haskins.
Right.
That could take some time. Montez Sweat is going to play right away, and I believe they'll expect an impact from him right away.
I would think so. I mean, everybody knows the Redskins needed an edge rusher, and this was a guy that was at the top of their list. To move out of the second round to get him, pretty much giving up a 46th overall.
Yep.
You got him for your 46th pick. Yeah, next year. You can always get that second round pick back next year. You might be able to find a way to get that back somehow.
You can move back in the first. I mean, last year they moved back to get Darius Geis, and that got him the third round pick they had lost. The draft is very fluid with picks. And I'll add, circling back to what we started with, the Redskins are attacking success in the first round of the draft, and that's what good teams do. If you look at the Bears, they are not at all upset that they used a first-round pick to go get Khalil Mack. If you look at the Cowboys, and I know Skins fans might not want to do it, but they are not at all upset they used a first-round pick to go get Amari Cooper. So I think in 2 years, Skins fans won't even be blinking about the 2 second-rounders they used to move up to get a guy like Montez Sweat.
Yeah, Skins got better today.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, they got better today. That was a question a lot of people had going into it. What are they going to do? They got better.
Yeah, agreed.
Don't have him in front of me, but I think one of the biggest surprises to me is that Haskins was there when the Redskins picked. The Daniel Jones pick to me, maybe they wanted Eli Jr. to be there. Maybe they thought he was maybe a long-lost son of the Manning family. But Daniel Jones, to me, way ahead of the pick. I know you guys mentioned it, but to me, that was the big shocker. You knew Oakland could do something screwy.
Well, and Cleveland Farrell, I think, set a lot of this in motion.
No question. But you know what? When Kyler Murray was drafted number 1, we're sitting here thinking, well, you know, this is going to be going as expected. But then the Raiders make their move, and the Giants, to me, at number 6, reaching way above where they needed to. They could have gotten Daniel Jones with their 17th pick. They could have gotten him at 17
well, let me
and
ask
taken
you this.
somebody else at 6. Idiotic move by the Giants, in my opinion.
Let me play a little devil's advocate. Are we certain that the Redskins wouldn't have looked to Daniel Jones at 15 instead of Dwayne Haskins? If both were there, because we had heard reports about some members of the coaching staff liking Daniel Jones.
Only thing certain is that Redskins Nation is going to be on the air tomorrow. That's about the only thing certain.
Taxes and Redskins Nation.
I have no way of knowing if they would have taken him at 15, but in my opinion, Haskins is a better quarterback coming out of college than Daniel Jones. More pro-ready right now. I mean, Daniel Jones, put him in there. Let's see how he does, gentlemen. I don't see that being a good move. That's to answer your question. To me, that was the biggest shock.
I don't think.
Between Daniel Jones, between those two guys? Well, I mean, Eli Manning's a starter up there for sure.
Right.
Daniel Jones is not the starter. They've got Eli. There's no way they're benching Eli Manning this year.
Daniel Jones wants to sit behind Eli.
Yes.
He told me that in Indianapolis.
Yes.
I talked about that during the My Team stream. It was one of the more bizarre answers to a combine question I've ever heard. These rookies are trained to say, I want to start, I want to compete for a job. And Daniel Jones said, I'd love to sit behind Eli for a year. Dwayne Haskins, I'm guessing, will be respectful, but no way Dwayne Haskins is going to say, I'm happy to sit.
We have Montez Sweat joining us. Montez Sweat, can you hear us from Washington?
How you guys doing?
Doing great, Montez. Larry Michael, J.P. Finley here at Redskins Park. How does it feel to be a Washington Redskin?
It feels great, man. It feels great. Dream come true.
One of your former teammate of yours, but an alum from Mississippi State, a guy by the name of Fred Smoot, has been saying for 2 months now, the Redskins need to draft Montez Sweat. Here you are. Did this surprise you tonight?
Man, God makes no mistakes. It's no surprise about where I'm at. I kept on telling myself the whole draft, God wasn't going to make no mistakes about where I was going, so not a surprise at all.
Montez, let's talk a little bit about your journey to this moment. You started up north at Michigan State. You finished your college career in Starkville at Mississippi State. There was talk of you going top 5, top 10. You end up going to the Redskins at 26. How do you feel you landed here, and how ready are you to show everyone else they really missed out?
I'm ready to show everybody that they missed out big time, man. They messed up for real, man, but God put me where he wanted me to be, man, and I'm going to take care of business.
Tell us how you found out you were drafted by the Redskins. Kind of go over a little bit of how your night went, culminating with the phone call you got from the team.
Man, I'm at Top Golf at my draft party, man. The picks was going by and by and by. After it got to the 20s, man, I had to step outside. I was actually really thinking about leaving my draft party, man, and the Redskins called me, man, and it changed everything. My whole attitude changed, man. And I'm just ready to show people, show the pass rush they passed up on, man.
Montez, who called you from the Redskins, and what was it like hearing that news?
I talked to everybody in the Redskins facility, man. The owner, from the linebackers coach to the head coach, man. I talked to everybody.
Hey, Montez, how familiar are you with some of the SEC players that are on the Redskins defense? Obviously, there's a lot of SEC players on this defense.
Most definitely, man. I know they like to go get SEC guys, particularly from Bama, man. I know they got Haskins, man. I know they got Deron Payne, man. I know they had a former alumni, Preston Smith, from Mississippi State that I'm very familiar with also, man. I'm just ready to step in and take care of business.
And what's it like now that you're an NFL player? Just what are the emotions going through? How hard is it just to process all this information?
Man, it's a lot, man. It's a lot going through my head, man. I'm just happy to be in this position, man. I work so hard to get here, man, and the work doesn't stop now, man. It's just started.
We'll get a chance to meet you this weekend, I'm sure. What do you want Redskins fans to know about Montez Sweat as a football player? What type of football player did the Redskins get here tonight?
The Redskins got a relentless, tenacious, fast, long football player, man. That's exactly what they got. A person that's not going to stop to the ball on the ground.
Relentless and tenacious. What about the speed? Your combine numbers were just crazy. Do people understand exactly what you can do, both rushing the passer and maybe in coverage as a 3-4 outside linebacker?
I don't think they understand yet, but they're going to find out real soon.
Man, hey, what are you most excited about? Obviously, a lifetime of work is culminated in you being drafted by the Washington Redskins. You will be in the National Football League. What are you looking forward to the most?
Man, I'm just looking forward to pursuing my dream, man. It's always been a dream playing in the NFL, man. And the Redskins got me, man. So I'm going to give my all to that organization. Plain and simple, man.
Plain and simple. Montez, congratulations on a very well-earned night. And let me ask you this, and you might have to run, I'm not sure. Will you approach your rookie season with a bit of a chip on your shoulder, considering that you probably dropped further in the first round than you expected?
It's the biggest. This is the biggest chip on my shoulder. I mean, I've always played with a chip on my shoulder. I've always came from the bottom of grinding, man. But the biggest chip is on my shoulder that you'll ever know right now, man. So most definitely, I definitely got a lot of 25 more teams to prove wrong that they passed up on me. That I was definitely that best player on the board. Most definitely, it's a big chip on my shoulder.
Like the way that sounds. We'll see you when you get here, Montez. You're now a Redskin.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
All right, Montez Sweat. First-round pick for the Washington. Second first-round pick for the Washington
love those
Redskins.
answers.
Man, I'm turned on by what he's saying, man. He just wants to prove. He's relentless, tenacious. What do he had a ton of great words.
Biggest chip on my shoulder.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you? Because
Absolutely.
he's gone. We fell about 15, 16, 17 spots.
Right.
You're thinking about a top 10 pick, right?
We said the stats earlier. 22 sacks the last 2 years. 30 tackles for loss. He should not have gotten outside of the top 10 with what he did at the Combine. The medical condition, whether it was real or not, and whatever else happened, I think that guy's going to be very fired up.
So all those phone calls, all that tape study, all those scouting miles has culminated in 2 first-round picks. Both of them look to be very, very good football players.
Indeed. Skins and Sweat.
Skins and Sweat. We're sweating skins. Yeah, I mean, car was started, but we turned around.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you. Still?